Welcome to the Modernize or Die podcast, CFML News Edition, where we keep you up to date with everything going on in the ColdFusion community. We'll share the latest news on events, releases to engines, frameworks, libraries, and tools, as well as spotlighting quality content from the community. Welcome back to another episode of Modernize or Die CFML News. I'm Gavin Pickin, a software consultant for Ortus Solutions, and who are you?
How's it going?
Good. So this is Brad Wood. He doesn't even know his own name, but I'll tell you about it anyway.
Well, I just had some unexpected music in my headphones, and I was like, oh, wow, I'm listening to Gavin from a few seconds ago. This is cool. Let me mute that.
Too funny. So, well,
I think I'm happy to be here. What is it? November 19th, all day today?
Yep. So a week away from Thanksgiving. 5-6 weeks away from Christmas. You couldn't tell because Christmas music is pounding me over here. Radio station in the truck. It was just like Christmas music all weekend. So like, oh, maybe they went back to normal on the weekday. Nope. Apparently they started about 7-8 weeks early, and that's all we're getting. So.
Yeah, I've seen several memes about the Christmas music playing early and how people need to die who do that. So.
Yeah, I used to work in, retail type stuff at one point, and so there used to be a lot of Christmas music all day, every day playing, and it was kind of a nice thing for a while, but after 6 weeks, and that's all you listen to all day long, every day, yeah, it's a little rough. But
I agree. I love Christmas music, but I hold off until Thanksgiving because you're right. You get sick of it after a certain amount of time. You don't want to be sick of Christmas music before Christmas even comes, because then it's just no fun.
Yeah, especially when you got to go to your kids' band things or whatever. And you're like, I don't want to hear it.
Yeah. The concerts, the musicals. That's the real war on Christmas, is starting Christmas music too early, man.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, let's get on with some news here. So the first piece of news is, did you know that the Adobe roadshows are still going on, Brad?
Did you know? I did know, but it's because I'm staring at the show notes right here. So.
Yep. So apparently there's one right now in Phoenix, and tomorrow there's one in Portland. So if you want to meet up with, usually it's Alicia. I'm not sure. She's going to be at these ones as well. They have a couple of people from Adobe show up. And usually it's a pretty nice little breakfast meetup. You get a free breakfast out of it. They'll give you a couple little swag items and, do you a little presentation about CF Adobe 2018 and probably give you a preview of 2020. And then you get to ask some questions and everything. And it's kind of nice.
It kind of sounds like a near constant rotation here.
So,
we don't have a ColdFusion user group right now in Kansas City, but I wonder if Alicia would just come make breakfast at my house and give me a personal roadshow. I would like the free breakfast portion if at all possible.
Sounds good. You can ask her. But yeah, I know they've been doing a few in Europe lately, and they did.
That's all I meant it for, is the free food, man. Let's be honest.
No, I went down to the one in Irvine, and that was good. But I didn't know they still had them. So I know that they usually contact people in the area before they have them. But anyway, so if you guys are in Portland,
do you have to sign up? Do you have to sign up for them, or do you just have to know the day, place, and location and just show up?
You're supposed to register online. So if you go to ColdFusion-roadshows.meetus.adobeevents.com, pretty long.
Wait,
I'll have it in the show notes.
Meet us, not meetups.
It's Meet Us.
Oh my gosh! All right, that one's going in the chat because ain't nobody got time to remember whatever that crazy URL was you just said.
Yep. So and
there we go.
I hadn't seen any reminders of it, but there are. They've been having them pretty regularly over the year. So they've had them in lots of different places. So if you guys are in Portland, definitely check it out. It's good fun. Like I said, free breakfast and a little bit of swag too. And, ask some hard questions and get some secret information about 2020 maybe.
Secret information.
Yep. More from Adobe ColdFusion. We have a preview for the new updates for 2016 and 2018. So they've got new preview updates. You can go check them out. And Charlie Earhart wrote a blog post about it. So on the careheart.org site, you can read more about that there. And he's got a couple of blog posts linked there about how to update and everything too. So.
Now, this is actually a pretty cool thing, to be honest, because there's been a few updates for Adobe ColdFusion that have come out recently, and they will, fix bugs, or even worse. I mean, it's not worse, but they'll have security fixes, but they'll have regressions baked into them, and people are like, we can't update, the regressions. So the community will always, every time they'll be like, Adobe, why don't you, let us test these in some sort of beta format, and find all the bugs and get them fixed before you release a final update that's full of bugs. Not every update is full of bugs, but there's been a couple bad ones recently. So I think this is a great example of the community harassing Adobe and Adobe listening. And I hope they continue to do this for all the updates, is to have a preview cycle where people can play with them and find the bugs and get back with them. So fair warning, if update 6 for 2018 or update 13 for 2016 ships, and you're like, oh man, Adobe broke something, there's a bug in it, right? You have no one but yourself to blame, in theory, kind of, sort of, somewhat, because you have a chance right now to test it. So don't miss this opportunity to find any issues with this update before it comes out.
Yep, exactly. It's good to see Adobe listening to the community. That's one thing that some people might say is a negative, that they don't listen, but it sounds like they are, and that, like you said, that's good to see. So, it can only make everything better for everybody, right?
Yep, I've been seeing a lot more communication from the Adobe team, which is great. In fact, I had Vamsi from the QA team email me this morning asking me about a ticket there had been some comments on regarding a ColdFusion bug, and wanted me to check and see if there had been a regression. So I thought that was pretty cool. He reached out to me, so I replied back and tested it for him. So I like seeing those interactions with the community from the Adobe team.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so Pete Freitag is in the news again. He's obviously done this security training at the last few conferences, and everyone has been talking about it, and we obviously rave about it, so much so that Pete's going to do an online version of this training coming up here in December. So
it's really great. That way, if you can't make it to a physical conference, but you still want to get the training, you can have access to it.
Yep, exactly. And so he's going to break it up over 2 days instead of the 1 day, so that way it should fit better with everyone's schedules and availability. So it's going to be December 11th and 12th, and it's going to be about a 3-hour block from 11 a.m. Eastern to 2 p.m. So if you're on the Pacific side, you can be 8 in the morning to 11. So it still works for those in the Pacific time. And he's doing an early bird special right now for $375 instead of the $450, which will be after the early bird.
Nice.
And if you have
do you know if he has a maximum number of students at all?
I don't actually, but I did give him a little review, a testimonial for his website. So my ugly mug is on there.
Nice.
So I've taken it a couple of years ago at CF Summit.
Ugly muggly.
But yeah, I really enjoyed the session, and and one of the cool things I think about it is that even if you've been doing ColdFusion as long as I have, there's always something to learn. Even if you think you know everything about security, he shows off his Fixinator in there, which I didn't see because I did it before Fixinator. But he shows some other tools for load testing and different things. I think there's a Zap tool that helps you break into your code, and so it covers a wider range of vulnerabilities, how to fix them, and tools that you can use for testing. So it's a really good session. And I really like the fact he wraps it all up in a VM, now running on command box too, which is pretty cool. Ooh. And so that way you can...
here's an idea for Pete. A training session where he hacks your website while you watch. Wouldn't that be awesome? You just sign it like a waiver at the beginning. Everybody has to put in their company website, and he just hacks them all. That would be awesome.
That would be scary.
Just saying that. If you use that, Pete, I want credit. So...
Pretty funny. So if you go to Foundeo.com, you'll see under consulting ColdFusion Security Training.
I put the link in the chat already here for the live viewers.
Very cool. So definitely go check that out. And if you know anybody else, and like I said, I think that's useful for those who they're just writing ColdFusion, or if you're a security expert and you want to be able to crack down on your team, there's always something to learn from someone like Pete. So very cool.
We prefer the term security czar, please.
Sure.
Moving on. We also have a congratulations to Michaela Light. The CF Live podcast has reached 100 episodes, which is pretty cool. That's a big milestone for them. So the 100th episode was Revolution Retrospective from Nolan Earth. So that's pretty cool.
Yep.
Check out that.
Yeah, they went through all the different things that had changed since they started the podcast, and mentioned the start of our podcast and all the different products that have been released and framework updates, and it's a pretty interesting retrospective on just how ColdFusion is changing as well. So it was pretty interesting. So pretty cool.
A lot's changed in the community. I see people that come across Twitter and things, and they'll say, I used ColdFusion, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and it's incredible how many things have changed in the last just 5 years. especially 10 to 15 years. So,
Yep.
cool episode covering that stuff.
Yep, very cool. And so, in case you missed it too, online ColdFusion meetup last week, we had Web Acceleration to the rescue with Bruno Zuguet. There does not look to be one for this week scheduled right now, so I'm not sure if it's just getting too close to Thanksgiving for everybody. But I know Charlie wants people to help sign up and present. So if you guys are a speaker, please go sign up. I'm sure he's wanting to get a few more sessions planned out for after Thanksgiving, before Christmas there too. So
yeah, that actually reminds me, I need to reach out to Charlie and see if I can get a couple of my sessions on there. So you have to keep me honest. Remind me to do that, Gavin.
I'll try, and I got to get some of mine out there as well. I got always something to put out there, but all the recordings from this year up there on the meetup.com ColdFusion meetup page. They have a link there to all the ones so far. So if you've missed any of them, definitely go check it out. And if you really want to go to a blast from the past, they have, I think, all the recordings from all the history as well. So Charlie keeps track of all that, and there's a lot of recordings there. So if you want to see what's changed in the last few years, you can go back and look at a few of those. That'll be interesting for sure.
Look at a recording from 15 years ago, and it was like banging rocks together like cavemen to code.
Almost like that with those mechanical keyboards.
Hey, those are cool, man.
Yeah.
I was on site with a client this last year, and everybody at that location was all super into the mechanical keyboards. They made their own. They would buy them as kits, and they would solder all the stuff together. And one guy had like Elvish from Lord of the Rings. All his keys were using those characters. They were serious about it, man.
Well, hopefully they put that much love into their code too. Like, nope, just the keyboards.
They're too busy polishing the keyboards. Like, what, we're supposed to be writing code? What?
Too funny. So, also wanted just to share a couple of little secrets from the whispers from inside of Ortus. So, yeah, I haven't even seen.
Are we allowed to talk about this?
I don't know. I thought I'd put it out there and see.
You don't know.
But
I don't think Luis watches our podcast anyway. It's fine.
Yeah. No, I just wanted to just talk about some stuff Luis has been doing lately. So he's been doing a lot of work on his CB Streams module that's been out there for a while, and he presented on that in the conference this year. But he's been doing some updates on some of the threading, trying to get better information in through the threadings and stuff. And he's been diving into another Java library under the hood to try and get a very own ColdBox futures. So
completable futures. We're really focusing on a lot of the multi-threading, just concurrency frameworks, especially for ColdBox 6. It's been one of our big focuses. And so, the CB Streams library is something that we came out with a little while ago. And we've slowly been kind of working it into a couple of our projects like TestBox, but we're really looking to make some of this threading stuff be kind of a first-class citizen in ColdBox 6. And so expect to see a lot of cool things in that area. But like you mentioned, we've been having to work over a handful of road bumps with how the engines handle those threads and things like that. So it's some pretty cool stuff. I was working on it last night, actually.
Cool. Well, Scott in the chat said that he thinks that Luis tweeted about it, so I guess he's already dropped the.
Luis loves to dangle little tweets out on Twitter, like, "Oop, something's coming. Oop, what is it?"
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. I like all that stuff, and obviously we're doing more of that with JavaScript, and the engines have got plans about some of these things. I know we have run async right in CF2018.
We do, but Luis has a lot of additional features that he wants to work into the ColdBox as completable features. Because that's the first thing I asked Luis, is I was like, so what differentiates this from the run async feature that we have? And so we've been having discussions about, do we want to follow, promises, futures? How do we want it to work? There's a lot of additional functionalities that really aren't exposed to us with the run async that Luis wants to make available. Because to be honest, Java, being a JVM language, threading, that's one of like the cornerstones of the features of using the JVM language. And so we really want to make sure that ColdFusion developers are presented with modern options in that regard.
Yeah, we want to give you guys all the goodies to make your job easier and more fun. So, it's just cool to see, and I like to see Luis get inspired every once in a while and comes back with some crazy new ideas. And not that crazy, just it's crazy for CFML. So,
he's crazy. Luis is crazy, man, crazy.
Yeah, it's just nice. Because we could wait for the engines, but who knows how long it will take before they get implemented and what gets implemented. So this way, we just sort of taken into our own hands, so it's pretty cool to see.
Well, I was going to say something like, in this way you can use it on older versions, and that still would be true for 2016. But we're actually looking to drop ColdFusion 11 support anyway in ColdFusion 6, so I guess that won't really apply.
Yep.
That's been a long time coming, though.
Yeah.
We've ColdFusion 11 still has a pretty decent chunk of users, but we just got to a point where it holds us back so much. There's so many things we can't do in ColdFusion because of our ColdFusion 11 support. I mean, for goodness sakes, we can't even use the freaking Elvis operator. Every time we try, ColdFusion 11 is like, bugs, you can't use that, and we have to rip it all back out. So dropping ColdFusion 11 support, as much as that may be unpopular with a few of our users, is going to really free us up to be able to use newer stuff in ColdFusion. So.
Yeah, I know that
we're doing break some omelets or break some eggs to make the omelet, however the heck that saying goes.
Yeah, I know there's a few libraries that we're starting to do that too as well. And I mean, the amount of code we can take out of it because of all this, version or engine checking is crazy.
I remember when we dropped ColdFusion 7 and 8 support, and Luis was able to clear a whole bunch of code out of ColdFusion because of that. But I mean, Adobe dropped core support of ColdFusion 11 back in April of last year or this year. I guess it's still 2019. But that's kind of becoming a sort of our new rule of thumb is if the vendor isn't supporting it, the CF vendor, then we're not going to support it for much longer. But anyway, we're starting to change a little bit on that. But that's always an interesting discussion is when we talk about do we drop support for something and the pros and cons of that. So
yep. Cool. Well, let's get into the conferences now. So the next conference,
LatinoAmerica.
Yep, LatinoAmerica, Into the Box LATAM is happening in a few weeks now. Gosh, it's sneaking up fast on us. So it's December 4th, and in San Salvador, El Salvador. So 1 day, 1 track, presented in Spanish. And we've got a good group of some of the Ortus speakers here. So we've got Luis Majano, Edgardo, Jorge Reyes, John Clausen, Esmeralda Acevedo, Stephanie Manji, Javier Quintero.
Does John have a Latino name?
I don't know. We should make one up, though.
I mean, at least call him Juan.
Yeah, I probably should. But
Juan Clausen? I don't know, but that was more French. I'll have to ask Luis. Luis is the giver of Latino names. I have to see what Juan Clausen can be.
Probably has one there somewhere. We have pictures on our slides from the keynotes with our sombreros and everything else. So
Senor Clausen. Probably. Juan? All right, we'll have to check on that. We'll be back next week with John Clausen's Latino name.
Yep, but you can check out more information at latam.intothebox.org. Tickets are available, and they're nice, affordable tickets too. So definitely go check those out if you're in the area, and if you know someone in the area, share the link. And it'd be great to see a good turnout down there. If we're going to take over the world by having conferences everywhere, we need to have some more successful ones here. Where were you planning? India, right?
You're not supposed to leak all the secrets, Gavin.
You did last time. Remember, you said you were trying to figure out how to do the Indian one. So.
Well, no, the part where you said we're going to take over the world.
Oh, yeah, that's already happening.
People aren't supposed to know that yet.
Yeah, well, we just put a conference in each continent. That's the plan. But, yep. But speaking of India, we also have the CF Summit India, and that's going to be in Bangalore in December 7th. So, more information has been coming out about that conference. So if you look on coldfusion.adobe.com, they had a new blog release there. So Kishore talks about the blog, about the conference there. So a little more information.
I don't think I saw that post. Was this the first link you have here in the show notes?
Yep, that one right there. And then we also have
sign into the portal.
There's also an interview with Kishore on the CF Alive podcast. So they talk a little bit more about India 2019. This is the second year they've done it. So it was a good one last year, and they're hoping this will be a success as well. And so he talks about...
So this is a 2-track conference then.
Yep, 2 tracks. So that's new news that they released. That's just pretty cool. And they're also making sure you have lots of time to, mingle with the developers and the engineers and really get to, get comfortable with it. And it is in the Adobe office, so we confirmed that as well. So pretty cool. So if you want to find out more, there's a blog post and a CF Alive podcast as well on tiercheck.com. So again, the registration is complimentary. You just have to go register on cfindiasummit.attendees.com, and we'll have the links in the show
That made
notes.
the registration compliment you. It's like, oh, you're looking very nice today, Gavin. I thank you, registration.
Yeah, have a free registration.
All right,
Yep.
we also have Into the Box,
Yep.
regular old boring US version, 2020, coming up next year.
Yep.
So this is going to be a little bit later. The previous years, we've had it in the end of April, but we pushed it back to the beginning of May 6th through 8th, 2020, in Houston, Texas.
Yep, we're going to be at the Hyatt Place again, so if you guys have been to the previous ones there, it's the same location. We're going to open the rooms up a little more. I think we're having a few more people. We're going to give ourselves a little more room, so we're looking forward to that. It's been great attendance the last few years, and it keeps growing, so let's see if we can get a few more people in there and share the love.
The Hyatt Place is a really nice location. It's got the bar down there in the lobby so people can hang out. I believe there's a pool there, though. I've never used it.
Yeah, there is.
There you go. So our call for speakers is also open. It's out there on pay-per-call. And so we definitely are accepting invitations for anyone wanting to speak at Into the Box. So do not be shy.
Yeah, we've actually got a few submissions already, so they're already coming in. So make sure you guys get on that. We don't have a cutoff deadline just yet, I don't think, but I'm assuming it'll be probably within the next month or so. We usually like to try and firm things up by the end of the year. So if you got nothing else to do next week, if you're on vacation for Thanksgiving, write up a presentation and get it in there. And it looks like we got a few people.
To list our call for speakers on the website. We haven't done that.
You're correct. We need to do that. So we'll have to get the word out a little more. We'll have to do a blog post on it as well. But yeah, so sign up, get your name in the hat. And then we have a few people from outside the community as well. We're having on pay-per-call. We're open up to other people finding us. So we have some interesting proposals from other speakers that I've never heard of before. So it's going to give us more work to vet them.
Putting the call for speakers out on pay-per-call has resulted in a surprising amount of sort of random submissions from people that I guess just look for conferences. So it'll be interesting going through all of them and seeing what'll be relevant.
Yeah, there's some UI UX stuff and some soft skills and everything, and we usually try and mix things up as long as it's relevant to you as a ColdFusion developer. Then it's worthy to put on the list. And obviously, we have try and get a mix of content, so it could be interesting. Remember, it's not all box products. You don't have to be a box user to enjoy the conference. There's plenty of great content there for everybody.
What if you're a box abuser?
Well, then you get seen the door.
You get 2 sessions then.
Yep. Okay. Well,
blogs, tweets, and videos. Let's do it.
Yep. So Michael Bourne tweeted that he's back and ready for another live stream. So
is he back in black?
I don't know. Dark mode, probably.
That needs to be a parody song. Yes, I'm back. I'm back in dark mode. I don't know. It doesn't quite. We'll have to work on the rhyming. It'll happen.
Yeah. I'm sure you can bring it to Into the Box 2020, and we'll see it, and we rock out the box band. Luis keeps promising the box band. We'll see if it happens. But
did I tell you about the suggestion I gave Alicia at CF Campus here?
Mm-mm.
It was half joking, but like still actually half serious. I told her CF Summit. We were talking about how there's so many people who are programmers who are also musicians. It's just you always find a lot of overlap in the two fields, it seems. And I told her, how cool would it be at CF Summit, really any conference, but Adobe has the money to make it happen. At CF Summit, have like a corner where you just have like instruments to sit in there, like some guitars, a piano, maybe some like hand drums, and people can just go over and just jam, make it like a little like photo op with a little iPad, and a little band name, like, the CF Summit Adobe Jam Band. I don't know. And it's like people can just go over and just like, play Freebird and just start jamming and stuff. I don't know. I told her to think about it. It would be a super sweet, fun thing to do at a conference.
Well, especially 25th anniversary of ColdFusion next year. I mean, if they're going to do it up, they should do it big. But I know Luis has been talking about starting up the box band Into the Box as well. Because Nolan's a big music junkie and, has his band and everything. And obviously you play a lot of music. There's a lot of the speakers and stuff. I mean, we know that Jorge can bust out some tunes in those pipes when the mariachi band rocks into the box. So
I know.
Yeah. Anyways, back to the tweets. Sorry, guys.
back to the tweets.
So Michael Bourne is back. He's going to be doing some investing insights app with ColdFusion, CFML, and Lucy. I guess Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. So
just another Twitch stream.
Yep, he's going to be live streaming on Twitch. So we have a link to his account there, and keep an eye out on it for Twitter. He'll be posting as he goes live. So
I just retweeted it.
Cool. Done. So there's another blog post on the ColdFusion Adobe forums from Gray Desmond. So this one was interesting. He's talking about WordPress. But no, he's talking about using ColdFusion Tabulator, a JavaScript library, and WordPress to try and get some basically some database tables in his WordPress site up to date. And so I like how he says if he was doing everything in ColdFusion, the blog post would be over by now. But it took a little longer to get things going.
Dang, Skippy.
But yeah, so he's using Framework 1 for his ColdFusion side, and rendering out data as JSON a certain way, and Tabulator working with WordPress to do that. So he talks about a couple of gotchas with SSL and cores and stuff. So
is he basically using a WordPress site that loads up JavaScript that just hits some ColdFusion endpoints to bring in JSON and then put data in the page?
Yep, just to keep those database tables in sync. So. Just interesting. I just like the way, using different tools to solve your problems, and I thought it would be a nice one to share, even if he's talking about PHP. But, there's a place for every tool. Just use what you got to use. And
yeah, the trash can. No, I'm just kidding.
But yeah, so there we go. Charlie Earhart was also talking about when and how to upgrade your web connector easier since 2016. So I like the blog post. Just gives you a rundown, because I know a lot of people in the update, they don't know if they should change that web server connector or not. They get these weird errors, and usually if they get an error with the update, it's usually because the web server connector needs to be reset up. So he talks about,
and they're always really hard to debug too. You'll get odd 404s or stuff that just doesn't make sense. Or your SDS URLs just won't quite work like you expect. And then it's like, oh, you installed an Adobe ColdFusion update and didn't rebuild the connector, did you?
Yep, exactly. Yep. So he talks about how to figure out if you need it, and talks about how Adobe's trying to even make the tech notes a little easier to read. They have a little checklist at the bottom saying, do you need to do the connector, yes or no, and stuff like that. So again, Charlie's got
check yes or no.
Yep, Charlie's got a nice blog post about that to make your life easier if you're the one updating your sites. So. And then TerraTech had a blog. So this is a good one for Brad. CFML is better than other languages. 7 detailed reasons.
Dang straight. I didn't even think I saw that one.
Yeah. So it's one of a marketing piece, basically, is what I'd say. So, if you're using ColdFusion already, you probably know most of these things. But, if you get someone saying, people saying ColdFusion's are dead, or why are you using it or whatnot, this would be another, good opportunity to share this. And it's giving you some reasons why ColdFusion is good. Some of them might be a little dated.
ColdFusion is rad, dude.
Exactly. Like that one there, some people might argue that rapid application design is a little CF4, maybe.
I thought it was rapid application development.
Sorry, development. Yeah, you're right. But yeah. So you got some interesting content there.
Looks here. Here's the 30,000-foot overview. 1 through 7. Rad, easy to learn, powerful, scalable, rich with built-in functions. That's actually true. Portable with extensibility throughout. Object-oriented. Those are the 7 points, and obviously it has a whole paragraph in each one, multiple paragraphs in each one.
Yep. But again, so a marketing piece. But if you get a client that's, why do you use ColdFusion? You can give them something like this and speaks their language. So again, I thought it was worth sharing. So we're up to our buddy Ben. So what's Ben been up to there, Brad?
Looks like he's been up to a blog post titled "Closure Variable Access Changes with Function Expressions versus Functions Declarations in Lucy CFML 5.3.3.62." I didn't read that one. I don't know what's in it.
Yeah, that's okay.
Looks like he's playing with closures again.
Yeah, so he was just looking at different ways to, define a function and figure out if it does, actually close over variables or not. It was pretty interesting, and I think it was, to me anyway, what the sort of the examples he walked through, they made sense to me. It was interesting though. he had a function, and inside that function, he declared another function by just using the function name, parameters, not using a variable, this equals a function. And I always thought that was just, weird to actually, you could just define a function inside of a function. And yeah, it was just kind of strange. But that one doesn't close over your variables. Well, it wasn't set up as an expression though. So it was
here. Which example are you talking about? I'm looking at this post now. I'm talking about variable hoisting. What was he doing an iffy?
No, it's just inside your line. So you have a variable x equals 3, and then underneath it you had function, etc. But that's already inside of another function. So it's you're just declaring a UDF, but it's already inside another UDF, which works.
Doesn't matter where it is. It's just like I said, it's an expression whose result is a UDF.
Yep.
And I'm not seeing that code example though.
Okay, but anyway, so basically, most of the normal uses of using, JavaScript, everything seemed to pretty much align as expected. But again, Ben's real thorough, and looking at a couple of different ways that I wouldn't even have thought to define a function was kind of interesting. So,
I see what you're saying. You're saying that inside of his test scope access function, he declares one, but instead of doing var my function equals function curlies, he just uses function name of function syntax like you would inside of a CFC.
Yeah, exactly.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. But that's not a closure, it's just a UDF, exactly.
Yeah, and it doesn't get hoisted the same way and everything. So it's
good to know all these little differences, because then you can kind of understand why it doesn't always behave like you might have thought sometimes.
Yep. I'm curious how that would differ in CF2016 and 2018 too. And
I'm not sure that Adobe ColdFusion lets you use that syntax. I swear I tried that once and it only worked in Lucy, but I'd have to test it. I don't believe that Ben tests any of this stuff on ColdFusion, because at his work they basically went from Adobe ColdFusion 10 like straight to Lucy 5.2 or something. So all of Ben's blogging about ColdFusion now is basically just completely inside of the microcosm of Lucy. Because I'd asked him about Adobe at one point, and he was like, "I don't know, I just do Lucy now."
Yeah.
But I'd have to test that to see if that function declaration syntax works with the Adobe compiler or not.
Yeah, I mean, I know you can do that inside of JavaScript too, because I accidentally I was on a code review one time, like, what, does this work? But it does. It's just it's pretty interesting. So next on the list, we just link out to the CF Alive 100th episode. So we talked about that previously, but we wanted to make sure that was included in that blog section as well. And then we also talk about the preview for the ColdFusion updates that we mentioned earlier, so that's there as well.
Mm-hmm.
And here's one that's pretty interesting. I know that you helped, is it John Wish? I always forget. Alias Poor Yorak.
Yeah, Alas Alias, yeah.
Yeah, it's meant to be a play on Alas Poor Yorak. But so he was moving from DI1 to Wirebox inside of a Framework 1 application.
Yay.
And so he wanted to give it, his app a little more power that Wirebox gives you over DI1. And so he was looking at switching. And so he basically documents what he learned. And I know he was asking a lot of questions on Slack. He mentioned you and a few other people had helped him there too. So, but pretty interesting. So if you're using Framework 1, you're using DI1, you can see some of the reasons he moved. And also if you're wanting to do something like that yourself, he gives you a pretty good rundown on how to get Wirebox working and, behaving like DI1 enough so you're backwards compatible, but also you can move forward and use all the goodness that Wirebox does.
Mm-hmm. I'm checking to see what all he has here. I hadn't actually read his post. I'd answered a bunch of questions for him, but okay, yeah, it looks like he's doing exactly what I thought. I remember helping him with this. Because basically, Wirebox is a bit more, DA1 is a bit more opinionated than Wirebox. Wirebox is kind of like, you do whatever you want, buddy. It's your models folder. We're not going to force it down your throat. It's ironic, given what some people used to say about Wirebox. I think it was the other way around. Framework 1 has some more conventions. You put it in a folder called services. You have the word service in it, and it treats it a little bit differently, which is kind of cool. I like that. So Wirebox will let you totally do that, You just have to configure it. And so he shows tricks on how to, point WireBox at your entire models folder and then tell it, hey, if the, CFC has the word service in it, just automatically make it a singleton. So, you can do those things in WireBox. It's just up to you to tell it you want to do it. So I think this is a pretty cool little post. It gives you some of that sort of opinionated behavior of DI1 back just inside of WireBox.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a good post.
Yep. And then the next blog post on our list is from Matthew Clemente. So he talked about using Redis with Lucy and approach with the command box Docker image and Ortus Redis extension. So I know you read that one. I know you're talking about that one.
Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah, I was posting about that. Just a really nice walkthrough on what how the Ortus Redis extension works. And he talks a little bit about how there is a Redis extension that's free from Lucy, but the Ortus one is supported by Ortus and has a bit more functionality. And so we think that there's value, obviously, being from Ortus. in
be a little biased.
Yeah, we're totally biased. But we believe that the support behind our extension is what makes it worth using it. If you want to use the free one from Lucy, go ahead. But if it doesn't work, you can post in the forums and you can see what happens. But if ours doesn't work, you email us and we promise we'll reply to you. So sometimes there's always bumps, getting the stuff working. So that's really where the support comes in, is helping you pass those bumps.
Yep. So another good post from Matt Clemente. So if you go to blog.mattclemente.com, you'll see it right there as well. Cool. And then Pete Freitag, he has to keep busy. So he posted a blog post about a question he had about Fixinator and why it doesn't add CF query param to static values in a query. And so this is pretty interesting. Basically, query params, obviously, you should be using them on all your ColdFusion variables inside your queries to make sure you're blocked for query injection and that type of thing. Some people use it on static values too. So they were asking why Fixinator doesn't do that. And obviously, since it's actually hard-coded, there shouldn't be any threat or security issues because it's just text in your file. So you don't need to query param it. And, not too bad. The reason that sometimes I will do it, though, because he says you shouldn't, because you might actually have a little teeny tiny performance hit. But the reasons why sometimes I'll do it is if I know that this query hard codes it, and that's fine, I don't need to use it. But if I have the exact same query somewhere else, and I am passing that value in dynamically and not statically, if I use a query param, that means that the query plan in the database will be able to be shared. Because if you have a query which is not the same without the different parameters, it'll build two different query params. Sorry, query plans, not query params.
Did you know that's not technically true with SQL Server? I don't know about MySQL or Oracle, but for years now, SQL Server is actually smart enough that if you run, say, select star from orders of order ID equals 5, right, and order ID equals 6 equals 7, behind the scenes, SQL Server will actually recognize similar queries, and it'll turn them into parameterizations, and it'll share the same execution plan. So there's actually optimization in SQL Server. It may be there in Oracle, MySQL, I don't know. Maybe it's not. I just know more about SQL servers. Is what I used to be a DBA for. But what Pete says is true, but SQL Server still has your back and can technically, in some cases, still optimize very similar queries that have hard-coded values. Just a little random tidbit there that I found out years ago when studying this kind of stuff.
Actually, it wasn't Pete, because Pete said you don't need to. I said I do sometimes because of that. So yeah, but that's cool. Good to know.
Wrong. No, I don't. I wouldn't be surprised if MySQL doesn't do it. It doesn't always seem to be as powerful as a query plan creator. I could be wrong. It might totally do it, but yeah, it's good. It's cool to know that some databases will do that. And see, in SQL Server, I don't know how to do some of the stuff in MySQL. In SQL Server, you can actually go and you can get the query plan back from the database. You can get it as XML, and you can load it up in Management Studio, and you can look at it. There's a plan ID, so there's actually a way to tell if queries share the same plan ID or not. I don't know if MySQL even exposes that stuff, but I know SQL Server has a lot of functionality there.
I know there's a lot of cool tools in the workbench, and you can use the explain and stuff like that for MySQL. But I don't know if it actually gives you a plan ID. I'll have to look into that more sometime because I'm not sure, to be honest. But that's the reason I would sometimes query param static values, but only if you're using it elsewhere. And like you said, maybe it doesn't even matter. So good to know. But pretty cool. So yeah, but Fixinator, it does fix it automatically for you, which is pretty neat. So if you guys haven't heard more about Fixinator, go check that out. That's a really cool tool that Pete built.
The coolest thing about Fixinator, in my opinion, is it's running on freaking AWS Lambda as a serverless function. The web services that it reaches out to scan stuff, which I think is super cool. Probably, honestly, the first ColdFusion service actually like running out there on AWS Lambda. So that's exciting. Of course, Pete is the person who created the Fuseless project for that, so it only makes sense that he's using it for some of his own stuff.
So what came first, Fixinator or Fuseless? Did he build Fuseless and then thought, oh, I could build Fixinator? Or did he build Fixinator and say, now I have to build Fuseless to make it work? I wonder.
It's a good question. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Guess we can ask Pete that later. Pete, if you're listening, let us know. So Matt Gifford.
Speaking of cussing.
Matt Gifford, after being quiet for so long, came back with profanity. I mean, So
SwearJar, the profanity detector. It detects profanity. Wow.
So just be careful.
That's pretty cool.
If you go look at the ForgeBox entry for this module that he's been working on, there are some bad words there, but they're there for necessity. So
is that against our rules? Do we allow that?
I'm not sure, to be honest. But yeah, so basically he's working on a client project, and they need to build some type of curse word, explicit word detection for their content. And so he thought it would be easy enough and kind of fun to build. Did some investigating, found some other things, and of course there was a node package for it too. So the SwearJar node is what he based a lot of the patterns off of, and so I think he built it on top of the JSON file for that. And so the cool thing about it is that it has a whole bunch of different functionality into it. You can just look up something and see if it has bad words. You can censor them and all sorts of different things. And it's I18N friendly because of the way you define the files. So theoretically, you could have, depending on the language, you could have it check different languages for certain words. And it's got little scorecards and everything. So
and look at this. Look at this second paragraph in Matt's post. He says, quote, so last night, while listening and half watching the fabulous Modernize or Die podcast, I created the CFML version of a library, end quote. Matt, if you think saying that is going to give you bonus brownie points with us, you are absolutely correct. Well done. Brownie points, check for you.
Yep. Didn't get you at the top of the list, but still. So if you're thinking Monkey has a potty mouth, it's just because he's trying to demonstrate his modules, so don't get too hard on him. That's a good guy, and it looks like a pretty cool thing, but he did put it up on
badges,
ForgeBox.
Batman. Look at the badges he has.
That's another one of his projects, isn't it?
Ooh, kind of safe for work, pretty risque, built with love, tested with testbox, uses CFML. He's got all the badges, man.
Isn't that his project, or is that Pete's project? I can't remember. I thought Matt had a.
I think Matt had. I think Eric added some of the functionality we have in ForgeBox to auto create some badges. But I think Matt also created a separate badge project.
Oh,
actually, I think we can click on these. Yeah. Look, cfmlbadges.monkeyworks.com. See, yeah. That was a separate thing.
So if you want cool badges
for your
and
add some more of these to my projects.
Yeah, he's got some pretty cool badges. So if you want to add some to your package, and if you don't have a package, make one just so you can use them. There you go.
Built with ColdBox.
Very cool.
All my vars are scoped. Yes, it's been forever since I've looked at these.
Pretty funny.
Okay. Anyway.
Yep.
Enough about MonkeyWorks.
Yep.
Crazy
so
guy.
We got a tweet from Ben Adele, who just purchased the Div edition of Fusion Reactor. So
that is fantastic. I've been harping on him to do that for a while. I mean, I harp on everybody. Yep. I'm like, just buy it. You won't regret it.
So he was happy to see that the Div edition is easy to install and up and running, and he's enjoying using it. So the Fusion Reactor team was, responded to his tweet too and said if he's got any questions or issues, let them know. So that was really nice of them as well. And again, the Div edition is much cheaper than their full edition, and it's great for developers. And we have a few licenses that we use as developers for Ortus, and it's life saving. I know you say, Brad, you can't live without it.
No, I'm sitting here reading this. He talked about adding a Java agent. I'm curious if he's using command box on the server, because when you use command box, you don't even have to screw with JVM args. You just install the command box module for Fusion Reactor, and boom,
That's what
it's done.
Yeah, I was gonna say we should probably tell him if he's doing it for local development anyway, he could set it up that way, and it's there for all of his projects that way, even his little test projects, right? So
then you get code coverage and test box 3.0 automatically. Yeah. Of course, I think we need to get Ben using test box. That's our next goal.
Yep. So Ben, if you're listening, you got some homework.
Use test box. Put backtracking into our podcast.
Yeah,
we're slowly hypnotizing everyone listening and converting you to some sort of box product.
Yeah. Actually, speaking about that, we got some feedback on the name of the podcast the other day. So someone reached out and said, Modernize or Die, like it's a little harsh. And, we've kind of thought about that too. But some people think that it's just, we're just basically trying to say use ColdBox or else, or use box products or else. But there's a lot of ways you can modernize your code without having to use all the box products. We just we make tools for ourselves to try and make our lives easier. But, obviously this podcast talks about everything, not just box products. Someone thought
after considering the name, we've decided we are going to come kill you if you don't modernize. So we'll be strictly enforcing the or die. Or die.
Yeah, that was Salvadorian gang.
It's a metaphorical death, guys.
Yep. Anyways,
good times.
Just
Luis, he likes to be a little dramatic. It's the Latino coming out in him. He's got to or die.
Yep, exactly.
Actually, who came up with the phrase "modernize or die"?
I think it was Luis.
Was that Luis, or did you come up with it?
No, it was Luis. He had it trademarked before. I think I'd even heard it before. So
see, it's trademarked. You guys know how much money we had to pay to trademark that stupid thing. We're stuck with the name. We can't change it now. It's set in stone. Exactly. Modernize or die.
Yep.
A slow, painful death.
Yeah. Well, it's either that or change languages, and some people have, but we're the sticklers. We're sticking around here. So James Moberg also had a tweet out there. He was following up to our talk last week about Pete's
and that's
safe
game
XML tag.
Over for you, those of you on Twitter.
Yep. So the safe XML pass CFC Pete released last week. James was talking about how he'd built, or he was using another Java library to do some of the same work because he wasn't, too safe using the XML pass that's built in, and so he actually did some testing after hearing about it last week on the podcast, or on Twitter. I'm not sure exactly, but he went back and updated his blog post that we've linked to here, and I guess he found a couple of issues possibly with the safe XML pass, but he says it's working great. But yeah, he ran everything through an OWASP set of safe or unsafe files to test it with, and so it did work good for the good stuff, but I guess there was a couple of passing issues there. But he talks about how he solved the problem before Pete had released this, so I'm sure Pete will update it accordingly.
When I had tweeted about the safe XML parse the other day, someone, who was it? Give me a second. I'm logging into Hootsuite on my laptop to look. Somebody actually asked me if I had some examples of unsafe XML. I'm scrolling down in my. It was Jim Parton had replied to my tweet about that, because we had talked about that tweet. And he had said, do you have any links or articles describing malicious XML? Because he wanted to know what I meant by saying, safe XML parse, will make your site immune to malicious XML. And so I just linked him to the OWASP.org website, because I think it was in reply to that James Moberg had popped up with his testing tweet. But anyway, if any of you guys are interested, there's some really super basic examples here on the OWASP website that kind of shows just exactly what we mean when we say that a malicious hacker could come up with an XML document that, when parsed, could have unintended side effects. Even though this isn't in your show notes, I'm going to stick it in the chat. Maybe we can add it, because that's kind of a nice reference just to scroll through and see just exactly what would that look like if a hacker was to target your site.
Yeah, for sure. And again, if you want to find out more about crazy security stuff, check out Pete's online webinar in December.
Yeah, I wonder if he's going to cover the safe XML parse in that. I bet he will.
Yeah, well, maybe you will.
If not, he should. Hint, hint.
So now we're up to the Find a Job section, and actually I haven't seen any new jobs posted this last week. If you go to getcfmljobs.com, you can see the ones that are previously there.
PHP, there's no new jobs, man. They're all gone. They've dried up. Done.
Yeah, I'm just not sure if people are looking to hire someone right now, or maybe I just missed a few. So if you guys have a job offering that you want us to talk about, please let us know. But if you go to getcfmljobs.com, it does a pretty good job of pulling them in from all the different websites out there, like Indeed and some of those other ones, etc. So unfortunately, if you're looking for a job, you'll have to do a little more work this week. So, so ForgeBox module of the week. Let's talk about.
This is going to be familiar.
Yep. I thought I was going to do another one, but I decided we couldn't go further than the SwearJar from Matt Gifford. So
it doesn't get any better than the SwearJar, people. Somebody needs to make like a safe internet browser now written in ColdFusion that just like CF HTTPs to get the content, runs it through SwearJar, then sends it back to the page and just censor everything. That'd be interesting.
Pretty funny. So yeah, I mean, like I said, it's a library. He's put it up there. It's up on ForgeBox. If you just search SwearJar, you'll find it. Profanity
now is this a ColdBox specific library or just a general purpose good old fashioned ColdFusion?
Just general ColdFusion. So if you just do new SwearJar, it'll create it, and then on that you can do, you can do censoring. So you can just basically find and replace words and replace them. It'll give you a
looks
score
like it's
card.
just got a SwearJar.cfc, which is basically the guts of it.
Yep.
And there's nothing specific to ColdBox or Wirebox. He has a config folder. So you could drop this into a ColdBox app and you could create Wirebox mappings, or you could just install it in any old legacy app. That's pretty cool.
Yep. And I just like the fact that, you can just say, hey, does this have some bad words in it? You just check and see if there's something. You can censor it so it'll automatically replace the bad words with, asterisk type characters or whatnot. You can get detailed information on what words were bad and why. You can do little scorecards and stuff. So.
Yeah, I saw one of the categories was oh crap, what was it? I just forgot what it was. It was a funny thing. Oh, cool story, bro. I already forgot what the example was that it had. It wasn't bigotry. What was the word? Oh well, I'll remember it after the episode's done.
Yeah.
Now that my brain just went blank. It was on his blog post. So now it's good. Now blasphemy. That's what it was. Jeez, such an idiot. Blasphemy was one of the things. So if you wrote something like "I love PHP. PHP is a great language," SwearJar, but like, no, that's blasphemy. Yeah, I don't know. You're like, ColdFusion is dead. Blasphemy.
That's filtered. Funny. Yeah. So theoretically, because you can edit this with a configuration file, a JSON file, I believe.
So we could actually make that.
Yes, we could. So
I mean, fascism at our front door. We can police the whole internet with this thing.
Yeah, make a Chrome extension that just does it for you. Have the Ortus Chrome extension. Too funny.
Right. All right. I'm giving him a pull request right here because he doesn't have syntax tiling on his code blocks.
Oh.
I'm OCD about that.
There you go. So anyway, so that module's up there, and again, it's just a simple little module. It doesn't have all the ColdBox stuff. It doesn't have Wirebox. So, you can set up a module yourself, put it up on ForgeBox, and make it available to share. And I thought that was a good highlight for a new package up on ForgeBox. So, pretty cool. And I'm sure a lot of people could use something like this too. So, especially as far as everyone gets so offended these days by so much, this way you can at least help reduce your offensiveness. Just replace everything with asterisks.
the whole website. How do you add syntax highlighting when you just have a single line code block? You just use the tab. I never used that.
I'm not sure.
Just indent it.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Killing me, Matt. I'm trying to send you a pull request here. You're not doing your code blocks right. Jeez.
Okay, well, while Brad's helping Matt there, I'm going to talk about the VS Code hint, tip, and trick of the week. So this week,
we should have a little theme song that comes on whenever we announce these. Like it's the mailbag time. A little animation. I don't know. Just saying. Think about it. Maybe next week.
Okay, if I get bored, I'll work on that. So we also have so the VS Code hint, tip, and trick of the week this week. I'm going to talk about File Utils. So it's just a little module. It's inspired by the sidebar enhancements for Sublime, but it's just a convenient way to create, duplicate, move, rename, delete files and directories. So it's called File Utils. If you look up just VS Code -File Utils, you should find it in your extensions. But it's got just a couple little tools just to make it a little easier. VS Code's not bad. You can right click and copy path. There's a few different things in the toolbar already, but this gives it into your command palette. So if you're in a file, you can just duplicate the file or rename it or move it. And the cool thing is, if you're putting it in a subfolder and this folder doesn't exist, it'll create them, etc. So it does try not to override files or folders or do anything weird like that. But obviously, whenever you mess with files, always be careful. Hopefully everything's in Git or source control, so if you do make a boo-boo, you can discard it. Or
a boo-boo. You just said boo-boo.
I know it's probably going to get flagged in the SwearJar, but
yeah, SwearJar does not approve. That's blasphemy.
But anyway, so it's a pretty cool little tool, and again, just makes your life a little easier, makes working with files and directories a little bit easier. So pretty cool little tool there. And that's written by Stefan Lissner. Has over 100,000 installs already and 5 stars, so not a bad little tool. So actually, I'm trying to remember who recommended this one. I forget, so I apologize for whoever recommended that one, but pretty cool. Okay.
I think you may only be able to do syntax highlighting for fenced code blocks, which is apparently the proper name for the ones that use the tildes.
Oh.
Trying to read the GitHub Markdown spec.
Pretty cool.
I'm learning something new every day.
Yep. So now we're on to the last part of our show where we thank our Patreon supporters. So thanks everybody for supporting the show, supporting our open source movements, our documentation, ForgeBox itself. All these tools are made possible because of all the support we get from our Patreon supporters, and also our commercial products that we offer in consulting as well from Ortus Solutions. So thank you, everybody. So a quick rundown of the names. Take a deep breath. Andrew Davis, Brian White,
one breath.
Calvin Stenton, Dali, Dan Card, Daniel Garcia, David Bellinger, Tadia Lesnicki, Don Bellamy, Eric Hoffman, Gary Knight, Jan Yannick, Jeremy Adams, John Farrar, Jordan Clark, Joseph Lamery, Laxma Tirahadi, Matthew Clemente, Richard Herbert, Samuel Knowlton, Scott Steinbeck, VJ, and Yogesh Mehter. And if you go to ortussolutions.com,
like a real professional singing that.
Almost. ortussolutions.com /
a few more tries, I think you'll have it. Sorry, I keep interrupting you.
Yeah, it's okay. So if you go to ortussolutions.com /about-us/sponsors, you can see all of our sponsors there and find out how to become one as well if you'd like to help out the show or our open source community. So again, thanks everyone for joining us. If you guys don't catch us next week, we hope you have a great Thanksgiving week if you guys have it off with all the school kids, etc. But thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Pull request sent. My work here is done. See you guys.
Everybody. Show notes for this episode can be found at cfmlnews.modernizeordie.io, where you can also subscribe to your favorite podcast player like Spotify or iTunes. We also have the link to YouTube to find more videos just like this. The music used in this podcast is under a royalty-free license from Sound.com and Blue Tree Audio.